Oh, so we are live.
We are live. Welcome everyone to the Watch People Code podcast, the only place on the internet where you can receive mediocre advice from programmers. Okay, today Kevin is actually going to be taking a break from the podcast. After talking to him, it seems that we are going to kind of have a shout out to the podcast Beyond, but we're going to have an ever rotating third chair. So it seems that position will be kind of rotating in and out quite a bit. If you stream on Watch People Code, we would love to have you. Today, I am joined by. Ooh, I don't want to see myself over there. I'm joined by the ever famous Alex. Say hello, sir. And of course, the ever amazing Phil. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, guys.
Okay, so today we're going to be. Well, first off, how you guys been doing? What have you guys been up to this week? I know that Alex, you were kind of in a personal race against the Reddit search engine.
Yeah, actually, so this week I finished, or was it previous week? Anyway, so I finished building. So as you know, I stream in seasons, and I finished building the basic search engine for Reddit. It works. There is the working demo, and well, it's pretty basic. I tried, but it works for one subreddit, and I thought, is it possible to build a better Reddit search than Reddit built-in search engine? And I think it's possible, but it's definitely going to be a challenge. So this week I started building it. There was only one episode, but I was pretty much just trying to figure out what to build, and I don't know. I actually worked on speeding up indexing process and trying to download the comments, because currently it indexes only posts. So the search engine. So using my search engine, you can search only over posts, and comments aren't taken into account. So it looks like there is going to be a roadblock, or sort of, because Reddit has very strict API limitations. You can make only 30 requests per minute. So downloading all the comments from just one subreddit, Arlen Problem, takes a lot of time. So
how do you combat that? Because there's a lot of, I mean, this is a fairly common problem that developers face, and for good reason, obviously, on their part, is the more calls that they allow, the slower their own services get. So how do you combat that? Are you store results, or how does that work?
I don't know how. I actually have no idea how to download the comments. Maybe there is a way to. I actually have no good plan for comments, because I don't blame Reddit, because I'm kind of building an unusual sort of service, and I guess typical Reddit clients don't face this problem. I haven't looked much into it. I think maybe it's possible to make some sort of special queries, and maybe it's possible to somehow download, but many comments in using just one call. So what I mean is, maybe it's possible to say, Reddit, give me all the comments for these 10 posts, and maybe it will, maybe it's possible. So basically, maybe it's possible to download these comments in batches. And right now, I'm making one API call per post. Whereas it's definitely possible to get all text, all posts. So before I started indexing comments, I was able to get all 25 posts using just one API call. And maybe it's possible to do it even when getting comments. I'm not sure though. So
it sounds like you're just. It sounds like you're like because I've been watching you quite a bit on and off, and I know that you just now have like the search engine functional enough where you can really just you're taking the lid off of basically what could go really deep, like because now you're at a point where you could start doing things where you could do like compound queries and relational queries and basically like look at what other people have done and relate their search results to your current search results and get better results that way. Like there's a million combinations you could now do.
Literally there is a lot of stuff that you can do to improve the ranking. But I'm still having this issue with downloading comments. So maybe I don't know. So I have no good plan for comments, but I have lots of ideas for ranking posts. So
it's going to be interesting. So let me ask you a question then. Like when you started this, you had to have known that this was not going to be a small task. So what made you decide? No, I want to do this. Was it just you saw the need and you wanted to fill it, or you liked the challenge?
So you mean building a search engine?
Yeah.
I think that, well, my initial goal was to demystify search engines. So I wanted to build one and live stream the coding process. And I didn't intend it to be a very complicated search engine. So now I sort of achieved this goal. I built a search engine that has all these basic stuff, like parts like crawling, indexing, ranking. I actually implemented 2 different methods of ranking. There are snippets, so it's pretty much like a search engine. It's a bad one, mainly because of ranking, but I think I sort of achieved this, my initial goal, and I would like to see if I can beat Reddit search engine. So yeah, my initial goal was just to build a very basic search engine, and I achieved it. So yeah.
And now that you see how deep it goes, now it seems like you're kind of caught in it. Like, oh, what else can I like? Now that I finally have a million options at my disposal, what can I do to make it better?
So it's sort of a challenge now for me. But like I mentioned, I achieved my initial goal.
So why Reddit? Like, what made you specifically choose them?
Well, since I'm a Redditor and since I was mainly so basically I started this project when I saw a post in R-Learn Programming. Do you want to see me build a game from scratch? And this post had like 600 upvotes, so I thought maybe I could build a search engine from scratch and live stream. So I pretty much copied this idea, and I created my own thread, and I thought I could probably index Reddit because, well, Redditors care about Reddit probably more than any other service. So my plan, I knew that, Reddit, so I thought Reddit is a nice collection of documents, and so I was choosing between Wikipedia and Reddit. And I thought, well, since I'm on Reddit and I will stream for editors, then well, probably I should search Reddit.
Yeah, well, and it sounds like Reddit was probably just overall the better choice because Reddit is so user oriented. Wikipedia is generally like a hit and miss thing. You don't find people regularly coming to Wikipedia just to look through documents like you would on like I've never sat down and be like, I'm just gonna look through stuff on Wikipedia today.
I guess that's just me then.
You do that? I've never
actually
done it. Honestly, I have no idea what Wikipedia's homepage looks like because it's always like in Google that I find it.
Yeah, me too.
They have
actually.
a random page of the day where they like feature a random article. So like I usually do that when I wake up. I just check out the random article.
Interesting. I'll have to check it out. I've never even thought to look at it actually. So from here, I've noticed you kind of. Was it just me or did you actually start working on? I could have sworn that you had a different post. You've been messing around a little bit with some other stuff too. Was it Django? No.
It was a web.
Are you talking about Space Ghost?
No. I could have sworn.
Yeah, I mean WebGhost, man, because WebGhost was doing Django projects and then he jumped into web services with Golang.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong.
I messed with other stuff too. I built a simple app for keeping track of ideas. It was a basic web app. It's not complete yet. I actually would like to extend it a little bit before it becomes useful. And I also tried, well, during the hackathon, I tried to build an extension for that blogs sites like Facebook and Reddit. So it's like an anti-procrastination extension. So it blocks certain websites that you go to waste time, like Reddit. Well, Reddit is actually a useful website, but I tend to use it too much for just random stuff on Ask Reddit or, like other entertainment subreddits.
It definitely has the YouTube effect where you look at one thing and then 2 hours later you're like, I don't even remember what I was originally looking for at this point.
Yeah. So
how did I get here?
Even if I go to look at some useful stuff like science stuff or on WatchPeopleCode, I tend to end up on front page and just browse random stuff. Definitely. So I wanted to combine this effect and built an anti-procrastination app. I actually didn't build it. I mean, I built a prototype for it, but it looks like it's possible to build it. Maybe I will continue working on it. I was pretty much a noob in CSS and HTML. I still am a noob. So I don't know if I will continue working on it. So
I would think
I actually saw your project on Hackathon, Alex, and I really liked it. Like I saw it for a bit, so I actually took the idea and kind of implemented it because you did it you're looking at what was it Google Chrome extensions, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't really like that you had to get it into Google Chrome, so I actually just wanted to build it from Flask. However, I did run into the same problems that you're running, where you would try to redirect HTTPS traffic through your local Flask app, and then it would give you problems, right, with the SSL certificates.
Yeah.
Well, I ran into the same problem, and it took me quite a bit to actually get certificates working with Flask. And at the end of the day, I couldn't even make it work because I would get man in the middle attack warnings every time I would try browsing to it.
You could solve this problem. If you don't want people to use your application, you could just create a root certificate, put it into your system, and sign a fake certificate for Facebook. So you could so you could do this, but I didn't want to do this because I wanted maybe to release the application. If I release it, I don't want people to, I know it isn't very secure. But if
Yeah,
you want,
exactly.
if you're building just for yourself, it's probably the best option. Like it's what I was considering implementing.
Yeah, I may not even release it just because even to run the application, like I don't want to like edit the host's files manually every time. So like I wanted Python to take care of that. However, you need to give Python super user permissions just to run so that it can overwrite that. So honestly, it may not even be worth releasing into the public just because it's so insecure.
Yeah,
The way it's fundamentally like implemented. But it was a good
yeah.
idea. I really liked it. It really inspired me to write my own version. Maybe I should have followed it a little bit more because I didn't actually get to see your whole stream because I had to step out for a while. But I really liked the idea, and it just gave me the idea to implement it on my own. That was pretty cool.
Okay, thanks. I'm glad that I inspired you to build your own version.
So what about you this week, Alex? What have you been up, or Alex, Phil? What have you been doing this week, man?
This week.
Okay, yeah.
This week was really like off the computer for me, just because I wanted to upgrade a few things. First of all, I wanted to upgrade my net, so I looked for different like service providers around my area. However, that went terribly bad. The people on the phone did not know how to give me information, man. Like I'm quite surprised that the people don't even understand the difference between a megabit and a megabyte. So like I had people here trying to offer me like 50 megabytes of download speed, and I'm like, holy crap! Like how do you provide like 50 megabytes? You know, like that is just crazy. I would understand 50 megabits, and they'd be like, no, it's just the pronunciation. And I was like, well, okay, well I'm pretty sure you're wrong, but yeah, let's go ahead. And I ordered like the package, right? And over here, and the guy has like this big lamppost thing, and I'm like, what's that? It's like, oh, it's to receive microwaves from our antenna. I'm like, oh crap! Like it's a wireless internet setup. Like it's not even like connector, right? He's like, yeah. Like it's on top of like a better area. Like I was like, oh god, no! Like let me just cancel the contract right here. It was just a complete mess, and that really put me back a couple of days because I didn't stream prior to getting that. However, in my downtime, I did research the whole streaming with multiple computers, so that's pretty cool. Like I have it set up where like I capture stuff with my Linux machine on OBS. However, as you guys may know, that OBS for Linux is still like very alpha stage, so like a lot of the plugins don't even work, like the web browser plugins. So if you want to use like Twitch alerts and stuff, you have to like compile it and jump through all of these hoops to get it to work, right? Well, the way I do it is I broadcast with OBS here and then pass it locally to an NGIX server running RTMP, and then I have it on my Windows machine on the left, capture that stream, and then just re-implement OBS with Twitch alerts. So it's kind of like a double OBS setup dirty hack that I did, but it works really good. I just wish I had better internet to broadcast it. So good things did come out of this week, even though I wasn't able to upgrade my internet connection. As far as coding-wise goes, I didn't stream anything for the previous reasons, so I didn't want to start on any new projects. I kind of just touched up on my Animate2 project just to re-implement the plugin manager. Stay on task. I rewrote a little bit of that. I also work with multi-threading. I was noticing that some programs that I wrote were jumping my CPU like 30%, just because like the threads were running over and over again in while loops. So I worked on some performance issues there. So that was really good. I got to learn a lot of stuff this week about multi-threading and performance in Python. So that was amazing. And that is my week in a nutshell.
I can't believe how what's funny about multi-threading is I can't believe how little it's covered, especially with the state of computers. Like I've never ran into a circumstance in the last 4 years where you couldn't multi-thread. So why? Like it's such an untouched subject in so many languages. It's weird.
I'm guessing it's just because of all the implications that it brings with you when you try to like apply multi-threading to programming, such as like you can and can't really control which threads start first. You know, like some threads might start sooner than others, and if like these threads over here are using like shared information, like shared variables and stuff, and they both try to write to it, like there's no saying like which one's going to write to it first, and it's just a mess. You know, like that's why like some programmers don't really go to threads; they go to sub-processes instead, which really at the end, sub-process and threading are kind of the same thing. It's just that you get a little bit better performance from threading because it doesn't have to spawn, you know, new processes with their own memory spaces and stuff.
Yeah, I actually see in the next couple of years that we'll be having a much different discussion. It seems like a lot of languages are actually starting to go out and implement things like key value observers and completion handlers, so that way you actually get a notification when something's done.
Right.
And how long it took. But yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up. We've never really talked about that, but I've been thinking about it. Like there's not much in way of being able to learn multi-threading out there. It's very hit and miss. You have to use trial and error for the most part.
Kai does have a fair point. He says, welcome actually back, Kai, to the podcast. I do remember you from last week. We actually wanted to have you as an honored guest this podcast, but we couldn't reach you last time. However, thank you for joining us again.
He is. I've meant to ask him all week, but I always forget.
Oh, nice. But yeah, it is multi-threading is complex. So I'm not surprised. Even like Python, like built-in library for thread, like there's like an extending module for it. Like it's not even, I don't want to say complete. I don't even know what to name the thread module. Like you have to like extend it with threading. It's kind of weird. But yeah, multi-threading is complex at the moment.
I agree. Everybody in my streams constantly harasses me because I'm very much a front-end guy. And everybody has been harassing me forever to start working on React and what was the one I finally Meteor, which is kind of like if Node, Angular, and React had a baby together, you'd end up with Meteor. Like it does everything. It's completely standalone stack. That's kind of a spawn off of multiple libraries, but I actually ended up getting internet. It's being installed tomorrow. I'm gonna like triple my upload speed, so I might be handling the Twitch stream next week.
That would be great.
But I like you doing it because I always forget to read the chat. So you'll probably still do that.
Well, I mean, I can read the chat while you upload stuff to you upload to Twitch. It would be nice to have some kind of like embedded player on the WatchPeopleCode side where we can just like have both chats on one page, because that'd be like easier just to keep track of.
Yeah,
however,
that would be cool.
Does anybody know how YouTube chat works? Because I have no idea.
I think it's not possible to embed chat on both on YouTube. I think it might be possible to embed chat on Twitch because Twitch chat is just IRC channel. I'm not sure if you can get you can get comments from YouTube using the API, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I will look into it.
That's what I was wondering too, because you can with Twitch. I know you can. Well, I have mine all the time on Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch wouldn't be the problem. Just YouTube. We should tell Kevin to go to the YouTube guys and be like, implement an API so that WatchPeopleCode can embed your chat to some third-party website.
He works on the YouTube tools team. So
yeah, that's why
you'd be like, hook a brother up. What are you doing, man? But yeah, to me, YouTube definitely has a little, like, even though they're very popular for programmers specifically, and they're very conducive to what we want to do, at the same time, they haven't released as much as I thought they would since they've released their live stream capabilities. They just didn't develop that quite as much as I thought they would. And that's one of the things that I've been missing since. Okay, so we wanted to use this opportunity a little bit. Wait, hold on. I need to go by my own Google document. I have a bad habit of just deciding what we're talking about next. It's taking forever to load. Okay. Okay, so Alex, we wanted to take this opportunity. We get asked a lot, but I keep on promising them that you're going to come by and just tell everyone.
Okay.
So I wanted you to kind of take an opportunity to kind of tell us a little bit about the history of Watch People Code for all our viewers out there, and give us some insight as to where this came from and where we're going. So let's start with tell us the story. How did you end up? How did this become a thing?
Well, I actually told you at the very beginning when I noticed this post that suddenly got like 600 upvotes. So some guy, actually I think I remember his username. It was something like Chasing Logic. So this Chasing Logic guy creates a thread in Earlier Programming. He asks Redditors, do you want to see me coding a game from scratch and live stream this? I don't remember the exact title. So he asked that. He receives like 600 upvotes. I'm like kind of surprised, but I was thinking about implementing a search engine, like a small search engine, but functional, for a while, and I thought that I kind of want to demystify search engines for people because there aren't that much information about search engines, and I think it's a very interesting topic. So I go on Learn Programming, and the next day I create my own thread. Basically, I stole this guy's idea. Well, I didn't actually steal it because I didn't post it. I want to build a game and stream it. So I posted that I want to build. So would people be interested in seeing me building a search engine from scratch? So I explained my idea that I want to build a small but functional search engine that is obviously difficult to replicate at Google, but it's pretty much possible to build something basic, small, based on the same principles. So obviously, scaling a search engine is, handling lots of large amounts of data is very difficult, and a lot of difficulties come from dealing with the large internet. But since I don't have to do this, since I choose just one subreddit, it's definitely seemed like a possible task. So I started live streaming actually it was November, so it was 3 months ago. I think it was late November. So I started live streaming. I live streamed every week for I think a couple of months. Then I noticed that other people were definitely interested in live streaming too. So I noticed some threads on Earlier Programming where people sort of posted about their streams, and they also had some interest. And I thought maybe, it's time for a general live coding subreddit. So I created it. Then initially it was a small subreddit. People streamed maybe like one day per week because I kept organizing these events called Live Coding Sundays. Basically, I messaged some streamers and asked them to participate and to stream. And typically there was from 5 to 9 live streams every Sunday. So actually, I don't remember. I think the first live coding Sunday wasn't on WatchPeopleCode, and I was organizing it in Earlier Programming, and I created the subreddit after that. So there was definitely some interest in live coding, and I created this subreddit. Then I kept organizing these events every week, and whenever I was organizing one, I sent a link to some other subreddit. For example, programming, R programming, or R learn Python, or R learn programming. And typically, some people, watch the streamers. Some people subscribed to the subreddit. So after, I think there was 5 live coding Sundays, and during the 5th event, I posted a link to the application, WatchPeopleCode.com, to Hacker News, news.ycombinator.com, and it went viral at this point. And I was pretty much surprised. I think you know the rest because, well, I think it was 3 weeks ago, or maybe 4, I don't remember. I think it was like a month ago, and since that we have a lot of streamers and streams every week, so yeah, it's great. As for where it's going, I think so. I think that I don't know. Maybe I think we should have some different sort of events. So, for example, there was a hackathon. I think it wasn't quite successful. It was kind of successful, kind of, well, not very successful. I think that if I could organize it better, and I definitely going to fix some of them. There was another problem was, so I was kind of surprised to learn that some streamers wanted to participate in the hackathon, but they had a problem with coming up with ideas. So they wanted to participate, but there was no, but they lacked ideas. Well, so, and I think I could sort of.
It seemed like one of your most recent posts is kind of like you've had several posts over the last couple of weeks that it seems like you're kind of building towards that of getting kind of a list of ideas that you think you can share with other people for the next one.
Yeah, actually, yes. Since that, I definitely took this into account. So, for example, there was, I created, I think, two requests to that. So basically, I took some of the suggestions and the message streamers, and they seemed to appreciate that. And well, they streamed. So so the next event is going to be a kind of online conference, because I think it would be fun if we kind of shift the attention from screencast to the streamer herself or himself. And I think it's going, and I hope it's going to be a fun event. Some streamers seem to be very interested, and some viewers, some people. So I mentioned a few people. Some can participate, others can't, but they seem excited about watching it. So as for that, actually another thing, I don't know. Another thing I noticed that it's very fun to interact with viewers when I stream, and when I watch streams, it's often fun to message them. Sometimes I watch C++ streams, and like when I notice the mistake, I'm very, very excited about it. I mean, not about fixing it. So I like message streamer, okay, you should fix that. So I think maybe another event that we could have is that some sort of educational event where people could learn some. I don't know if it's a good idea, but maybe people could learn something on stream and listen to suggestions and helpful comments in chat. I don't know if it's useful, but personally, when I was participating in hackathon, I found that people left a lot of useful comments, like you should. So they like told me you should do this, or you should try that, and it was very, very helpful. So I thought maybe you could have something like this.
I agree. One of the ideas that I've been thinking about as well that
Yeah.
kind of goes all together is I would love to have a day, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a hackathon, but if we just chose a project and got like 10 or 15 of us streamers all in a Google Hangout, working on a large, maybe like a larger project, and and basically you see, because of the big thing that it seems like everybody's been, the most common question that I get, or not question, but observation, is that a lot of future programmers, guys that are just kind of picking this up, they're not 100% sure how like production environments work, or how tasks are divvied up, how you interact with other developers to accomplish tasks. And
So
it seems
kind of like pair programming, or not exactly. Yeah, I actually agree. Maybe you could try this, some sort of. Do you imagine it like a big hangout event or a bunch of smaller ones? Like I worry that if 15 people, like, okay, can you kind of explain it? Because I think that if 15 people start working on the same project, and I mean by working I mean coding, not just watching and suggesting things. So I worry there will be a lot of problems with coordinating them. I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds like a definitely fun. It definitely sounds like a fun idea. So what do you have in mind? Like how should it
Well,
look?
here's what I was thinking, because I kind of thought about that too, about how it would just be chaos over the audio. And I was thinking what I would do is literally like use the main Watch People Code channels, and everybody could stream on their own channel. But basically, I would jump in, take their audio feed, or make them jump on with me, and basically just go back and forth between different guys.
Oh yeah, it kind of makes sense. So they could build something, and you could sort of comment, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Some sort of commentary.
And so you can basically just like you'd have like on the main Watch People Code channels, like they could still go to their individual channels and watch, but we would have a main channel where you can literally just, you'll see me just kind of going back and forth between what each team or what each person's doing, and so they just kind of get a constant change of view.
Actually, it sounds like a fun idea. We could try something like this. Maybe I thought. So I had this idea about Tetris Sunday, because like I mentioned, many people complained about. Well, they didn't complain, but they liked an idea, but they wanted to participate in hackathon. But so I thought maybe we could all had a bunch of streamers building a Tetris. Like they could build a Tetris in different languages, or on different platforms. I don't know how much fun will this be.
I think that you could definitely do that. I think that it would be really cool to, like, because a lot of developers might be so new that they might be able to contribute, but they wouldn't necessarily be able to do it like from scratch by themselves. And it'd be really cool to be like, okay, who wants to make this by yourself? Who would like to be kind of paired up with somebody else who kind of knows what they, and I think you'd end up with like a lot of dual streamings and things like that, where they're both in Hangout together and just kind of going back and forth on, and I don't know, you could pair like vets up with some of the newer guys, and I don't know, that has a lot of, I would definitely think, because the one thing, like, I definitely want I want something basic kind of like that, but also that still has, I want to leave it open for new guys who really don't know much at all to, know, that we could pair them up with people who wouldn't mind kind of working with a newer guy and explaining things and kind of taking them step by step.
Yeah, actually we could try have some sort of the event. I guess we could, I definitely think that this pairing thing is a good idea. So I guess we could discuss the details after stream. So maybe we could have, maybe we could implement it maybe after, I don't know, after the week after the conference. So I definitely like it. So let's talk after stream. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there is a lot of details that need to be figured out, like technical details, like how many streamers will participate, and should we have one large hangout or a bunch of small ones. So
I agree. Like, I'm definitely, like, because I'm a front-end guy, even though I do know a lot of languages and can program anything, I've never done anything like a game. So I would definitely be one of those guys that'd be like, if somebody can just tell me, like, what steps I should be taking, I could probably figure it out from there, but I don't even...
Yeah, I agree. We definitely could have a sparing session, maybe with commentary from you, or maybe without. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
really quick. Let's talk about, because you're actually do have kind of an event going on here, the WPC online conference that comes up on the 15th. Tell me about that.
So basically, I think that it would be cool to shift, the focus from screencast to the streamer himself or herself. I don't know. Are there any girls streaming? Because I never saw a girl streaming.
There is one. I don't know if you've noticed. They've come with us recently. I think they were streaming before, but Free Code Camp.
Okay. Oh yeah, Free Code Camp. I think it's kind of shared account. I watched their stream on Sunday. I think they planned to do a pair programming session between a girl and a guy. So I definitely wanted to see this, but I missed it somehow.
She just got done streaming probably right before our podcast started.
Oh, okay. I definitely tried to watch it.
Yeah, they had a guy on like literally for about 8. I think it was like 8 hours, something crazy last night. But yeah, they literally just trade back and forth. They are, they're very busy. They're very active. I don't know if they've been streaming before. I assume they have because they have just a ton of viewers. Like I got on there the minute she started streaming, she had like 300 and something viewers. I was like that instantly the minute they came on. But yeah, they trade back and forth. They are pretty much streaming almost 24/7 recently.
Okay, that's really cool. So what were we talking about before? I kind of.
The 15th.
The conference. So I think it would look like more like a normal conference talk. So for example, I would like to talk about my search engine, kind of what I learned while doing it. So how to index Reddit, how search engine works, because I kind of want to. So before I kind of think that there should be a way for new streamers, for new viewers to understand what you are doing. For example, because take me, I have been streaming for like 3 months already, and there are a lot of technical details, and people that join my stream, I worry that they didn't watch from the very beginning, so they kind of need a quick way to understand what's happening. So I thought maybe if I do a talk, I can, give them 1 hour of content so they understand what's happening. Like, I don't know. It sounds like a fun thing to do. So
it does well, and also beyond just like the individual details of your project, we have so many new developers out there that it's hard to really get exposed to all the opportunities. Like I was thinking about actually messaging you earlier about this. Like most of my stuff is about like front end design, and I get a lot of developers who are all back end programmers who just like the concept of front end design blows their mind. And since I've had the opportunity to watch so many streams now, I realize that there's so many opportunities to do so many things, and it's hard as a new person to really catch them all and understand them all before you make your decisions on where to put your time. Because ultimately, for a new programmer, that's the biggest choice, is where do I put my time. So I think something like that would give a lot of options for somebody who's brand new.
Yeah, maybe you could do some sort of talk during the conference about front end because I personally would watch it because I'm HTML noob, CSS noob, and well, JavaScript noob. So I kind of would like to see a bigger picture. So again,
that is my main thing. Some of the stuff that you guys do, I'm like, oh my god, I don't even comprehend that. But when it comes to front end design, like I spend probably a good hour a day just looking through sites, like just to see kind of the progression of where we're going in front end design and what's fading out and what's coming in. Because easily a site that looks awesome today, a year from now will look old. It's that bad. So it's one of those things you just kind of, yeah.
Yeah, you should totally do a talk if you want, of course.
I would love to.
Okay.
So if for the viewers out there that are going to watch this or are watching this right now, what if they are a streamer for Watch People Code, or even just somebody who's just ran into us for the first time, how do they participate? How do they get involved?
Sorry, I missed your question because I was looking at the chat on Twitch, so there was a question.
Now, if they're just hearing about this, if they've just ran into us or they're a brand new programmer, or if they are currently streaming with us, like how do they participate on the 15th? What do they do?
So if you have an idea for a talk, you can just message me. I'm also going to message a few streamers, mostly like randomly selecting them and messaging them about like, would you like to participate in the conference? And I'm going to ask them what they would like to talk about, and maybe figure out what they could talk about, because I think that there's going to be a problem. So. And the problem is a typical developer knows a lot of stuff, but typically, like but they have like kind of poor understanding about what other people would like to see. So, for example, I'm a Vim user, and well, I wouldn't consider myself an expert, but I would say that I'm fairly proficient. And so a coworker once asked me, like, maybe you could do some sort of talk about Vim, like for a new Vim users, like on how do you start using Vim and how do you learn Vim. And before he asked me, I have no idea if anyone like interested in my sort of talk about Vim. I didn't do this talk yet, but maybe I will do it somewhere later.
That would be cool.
Yeah, so basically, so like I mentioned, a typical programmer knows a lot of stuff, and he could, talk about a lot of different topics, but normally you don't. Normally, programmers rarely do these talks, and I guess I have my point. So basically, I guess I'm explaining this very poorly.
No, you're fine. Basically, there's a lot of us out there that get really good at one thing, and it's because you run such a there's so much knowledge out there that literally if you don't learn and focus on one certain area, you risk being really mediocre at a bunch of things. You're better off to be good at least one thing.
Yeah.
Than to be just kind of okay at everything, And so this will provide a very good opportunity for them to share their expertise with everyone else.
Yeah.
So is the whole point they're going to be like? Because me, I'm 90% sure that I'm going to be lost through half of everything if it gets too technical. And not that I'm a poor programmer, I just don't get into the really detailed stuff. So are they going to be kind of addressing everybody like they're you know, whether you're an expert or not, like they're going to address kind of everybody like this is your first time hearing it, or are they going to get super technical? Like what is the kind of the tone?
As for my talk, I don't know about other people. I think it's up to a streamer to decide how their talks are going to be structured. But I might talk about search engines. It's not going to be very technical. I kind of want to make it sort of Eli 5, explain like I'm 5 talk. I also want to talk about Reddit, like how do you build a Reddit bot, but sort of bird's eye view about technical limits, about maybe bindings. I don't think it's going to be. I kind of want to leave all the technical details out of talks and put it into my streams. So yeah, I think it's not going to be very technical.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I
definitely want to explain
like
concepts like ranking and indexing, but I want to make them very like explain like in 5. So yeah. Okay. Sorry for interrupting you, by the way.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
No, I think it's a great idea because it'll give a lot of people a chance to hear something on the basic level. Because if you're like today, I'm going to talk about multi-threading, and you start going into all these things, and this is the first time that person's ever even thought about it. Like, yeah, he's gone instantly. You're like, okay, I'll come back in 5 minutes when that guy's done.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I'm pretty excited about it, and I think it will kind of open the door for the next hackathon. I think. I think
definitely.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, you know, it was just about, you know, it was failing to get people involved earlier and getting it out there earlier. It's kind of like the way I handle this podcast. It's like an hour beforehand, we're going live, guys, which is terrible, and I aim to change that this next week. But yeah, it was the same problem.
Yeah, maybe we could announce the podcast in advance. Like if you know the time, maybe you could post about it on Saturday, or is it Saturday? Yeah, okay, the day before. So you post about like 24 hours before the podcast, and like I could stick your thread to the top of the subreddit so people can see it and participate in it if they want.
We need to build our own sticky system for the site. You know those little bars at the top of any site that has like announcements and stuff? We need one. We need one.
Okay, maybe. But Reddit, I like how Reddit sticky system works. It's a shame that you can stick only one thread for some reason.
I know.
Yeah. And I would like to stick 2 or 3 threads maybe. So yeah.
We're literally just swapping out like stickies like every other day.
Yeah, I actually stick in the podcast thread before we went live.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's kind of displays the VPS or WPC conference thread, but I'm going to put it back after we go offline.
Awesome, good deal. So let's. I'm seeing where we're at. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind
of. Sorry for interrupting. Maybe we could address some of the messages in chat. So, for example, there is a common problem in Germany, and German users can't watch. So there is dazed head user.
They can't comment.
They can't comment.
They can't comment when they're in Germany. Yeah.
So
he wishes that you were on Twitch because he can't comment on your streams in YouTube because he's in Germany. It's
kind of sucks because in Germany there is this strange law that uh, prohibits, broadcast that can reach 500 person or something like that. It's a very strange law, but YouTube tends to comply with it. I think YouTube, European Union doesn't quite like YouTube. I mean, not the whole European Union, but the EU government doesn't like Google and tends to kind of harass it with weird lawsuits. So I think they try to comply with all this weirdness, and yeah, and we tend to ignore this. All this weird stuff about laws.
It's basically, from what I understand, because I looked into it a little bit this last year, and the reason why most foreign countries do not like YouTube is because YouTube refuses to work with any countries involving privacy and control.
Yeah,
they'll send them a request, and Google's like, good luck with that.
Yeah, it's kind of good. I think it's a good, that YouTube tend to side with the users. I don't like all this kind of blacklist. For example, Russian government implemented blacklist for websites, and I can't go to certain websites because they promote suicide. And well, I have to use VPN sometimes.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, Russia is it kind of sucks. There was an old copy. How do you pronounce copy pasta? About suicide, and it was mostly humorous. It was some sort of suicide frequently asked questions. Someone put it into a repository on GitHub, and well, then someone finds it and reports it to the government, and the government decides, well, it's obviously that we need to block GitHub, this GitHub page. So GitHub doesn't want to comply with it, or I don't know, maybe they wasn't able to contact GitHub. I don't know. Anyway, one day they just blocked GitHub. Literally, I'm not kidding. So
we can't deal with this one page, so we're gonna block the entire site.
Yeah, and they can't block one page because GitHub is over HTTPS, so all requests are encrypted, and you can't see what pages users request. So they had to block their whole website. Anyway, it's pretty stupid. I think GitHub complied with this request fairly quickly, and they blocked this repository for Russia, and the GitHub was unblocked the next day, but for that day I was really pissed off.
That's crazy.
So, okay, it's kind of a topic story.
That was good. Yeah, they blocked music.
Dave tells us there is a lot of trouble in Germany regarding rights on music, and because many people uploading music on YouTube and streaming it, they decided to block streams on YouTube. Yeah, that's some weird way. I think. Actually, I noticed this problem when I have a German VPS where I have VPN. So I set up a VPN on my VPS, and I noticed that a lot of YouTube videos are blocked. So if I request music videos, suddenly they're blocked in Germany.
That's
yeah,
crazy.
The copyright situation in Germany is pretty bad. So
yeah. Okay, so I was just going to kind of close up our first topic, which is so in the future for our community, you expect to see a lot more events, and things like that. Okay. What if somebody's watching this that has always thought about streaming, but it's not necessarily like an idea thing, but like they wonder how to get started. Do they just throw on a link and just do it, or what would you say to them if they wanted to get started with
To the
this?
new streamers, yeah, just try streaming. Just submit your link. Well, personally, I like when streamers talk when they code. It's a lot more fun to watch streams with commentary. And if you have a mic, you should probably try to provide commentary. You don't have to be very smooth or sleek. Just talk like I don't know, like you would to a friend. So just try streaming some project, try to provide commentary, and well, just submit it to our WatchPeopleCode subreddit.
It seems that it's been, I think it's actually today, even if I remember right. There's been a big thing back and forth about, can you have music?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So about music, personally, I don't care about music unless I can't hear streamers. So if streamers set the volume low, I think it's okay to have music. Well, I think it's a matter of taste, but personally, I don't hate music on streams. I like sometimes when streamers, stream with music. I can't hear them, and they try to provide commentary, but you can't hear anything. So in these cases, I try to message in chat and help a streamer to fix it. And I think if you notice that the music is too loud, you should probably ask the streamer if he is providing commentary, because there is a chance that he's talking, but you can't hear him because of volume settings.
Yeah, I got that complaint this last week. Well, and half the times because when I'm talking, I can't have a lot of music in my ear, just because it ruins my train of thought. So a lot of the times I need the music to be louder than I hear it because it just helps me think. But yeah, so I've had that problem. On my personal channel, my guys gripe at me if I don't have music. Mainly because I started using this thing called Party Queue, and they have made it a personal goal to find the most annoying song they can. Like, literally have like 50 people adding, because it's actually the site's made by Spotify. So you have all the same library that Spotify, just an unlimited amount of songs. And so they'll get on there, and you'll just see like Baby One More Time from Britney Spears, followed by Backstreet Boys, followed by Justin Bieber's Baby, followed by, and I am literally like, I'm going to murder you all. Like, and it's not one person. Like everybody does it to me. They find it hilarious because oh my god, I'm about ready to just ban music on my channel for that reason. But yeah, it's like for my personal channel, like they like actually getting in there and adding their own music.
Yeah, I guess it's a matter of taste. I think that most people don't mind music.
Well, and when you're programming something really complicated, you can't just sit there and comment on every line. Sometimes you need to. And so it definitely helps fill the gaps, I think.
I agree.
What's really weird is when the guy's there, he's not commenting, but you can hear him make mouth noises, and he has no music, so it's just a bunch of...
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I do it myself, actually. Sometimes provide commentary, so it's just the sound of keyboard.
So let me ask you a question, and we're just going to kind of move this conversation a little bit. So you personally, how has streaming changed the way that you program or the way that you work now? Has it had any impact on you?
Yeah. First of all, I try to provide extensive commentary. I don't know if it's good or bad, because sometimes I'm speaking. I have a feeling that I'm not like explaining like my viewers are five. Anyway, so I try to provide a lot of commentary, even though topics are complicated. Well, okay, so and it turns out that it's pretty exhausting. So when I end 5-hour stream, I'm very exhausted. I normally don't get tired after 5 hours of programming, but when streaming, I just get really, really tired after just a few hours.
Yeah.
Another thing is I get distracted less frequently because I can't go on Reddit when I'm streaming, so I kind of helps with occasional procrastination. Anyway,
I've been on your streams. They like working you. I've been on several of your streams. They love going, well, why don't you do this? And you'll pull, and you're good because you'll like pull up the document and read it out and be like, well, this is why this would make sense. And you do it on every comment, which is it's good because you and it's been the same thing on my stream. Like because of that, I now make sure I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. As before, I'm like, I don't know. That's always worked before, so that's why I did it that way.
yeah, another thing I noticed is I kind of tend to think less about, code structure, because I feel that if I try to, maybe I could try, drawing some sort of diagrams. It would be fun. I don't know, but I tend to. So I have a feeling like I'm acquiring technical depth slowly, because I like to keep my viewers entertained, and if I just if I have a feeling if I'm just silent and nothing is happening on stream, like I just sit there and think, they will get bored. I'm not sure. Maybe they could go and browse Reddit meanwhile. But I tend to make design decisions very quickly. So I try to do that. I don't know. What about you? So what's your opinion?
For me, it's changed my entire work ethic, the way that I do work, the way that I make decisions. I started out with just like a single stream, and I did it like once every 3 or 4 days. Now I literally stream probably a good 6 hours a day.
Yeah. Do you get tired after your streams?
I do. Well, I think by nature with programmers, it's in our nature to be introverts. And so having a lot of social interaction does wear out most of us. Because I mean, otherwise we'd all go freaking crazy. If we were all the really social, outgoing people, we'd go crazy sitting in a corner programming for 8 hours. So you kind of have to be an introvert. So in a way, that in our nature kind of wears us out. But in all my streams, they make me think so much more about. They make me better in a lot of cases. In fact, I was stuck with this freaking problem that was pissing me off, and I'd just been looking at it too long. And finally, somebody jumped into my stream and was like, "Ah, well, you're missing that right there." And I'm like, "God damn it! Where did you just get here? Like, or have you been sitting here watching me? Whatever." But they've literally fixed my problems before.
Yeah, actually, I noticed this too. Sometimes viewers make very helpful suggestions, and sometimes even fix my bugs, so it's cool. Yeah.
On the opposite side of it, I don't know if you've ever gotten this, but there's guys that have told me that they literally watch me all day long while they work, and that because they see me working, it makes them work more.
No, that's like a super weird effect.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get that too. They just mute me and they like work on like on a second monitor or something. So like they don't like even know what I'm doing or like what I'm talking about. It's just like my terminal, it's just writing random words. But it's pretty funny, but it's really nice too.
It is. I was like, I don't know. I was like, does it make you better at work because you're like, well, at least I'm not as bad as that guy. or
Oh
or
no,
or
I think you guilt trip them into working because they see somebody else is getting stuff done, or at least that's what like they told me is like I can't like procrastinate or like go on YouTube if I see somebody else working. So that's why I have you there, even though I don't know what you're saying. Like even though you're muted, I just like having you there because that way I motivate myself to work more.
see, Alex, you're keeping other people from getting lost in Reddit as well. So you're helping each other not get lost in hours on Reddit. Um, it's so weird for me on. I honestly I can't like now that I've been doing it for what is it? It's been a couple months now. I can't think of not streaming. Like, because every time that I program anything, like I honestly, because I'll get less done in certain areas because I can't program directly on client because of NDAs, programs that applications and stuff that haven't been released. I can't work directly on them, and so certain things I won't do, but like half the time whenever I'm programming something, I'm like, damn it. So and so was just talking about doing this the other day. I should be streaming this. I don't think I could go back to not streaming.
Yeah, that's really cool. Um, Personally, I don't stream all of the programming because I don't know. I kind of worry that viewers will get bored. So I tend to stream the most exciting parts of the working on project on a project.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I've had 12-hour day streams before, and it got to the point where I didn't want to really talk anymore, so I just coded. And a lot of guys, when I was getting off, it says, I've been here all 12 hours, and I'm like, okay. I'm not sure why. They're like, oh, because I told myself that every time I wanted to stop programming that you were still going, so how am I just going to quit when you're able to do it? All right, whatever helps you out, I guess. So I appreciate them being there. So let's find out a little bit about you, Alex, because we did this our first couple podcasts, and I'm hoping that you'll be back more. So kind of give us your background, because we've all kind of done this. Like, where did you start programming? What was your first language?
Yeah, my first language. My first language was Logger. I'm not sure if you heard about it, but it's a language designed for children to start learning programming. Basically, you have,
no, I'm just playing.
no, not brainfuck. It's actually a tool. In this language, you have sort of total, like an animal, but it's like an icon of total. And this total can do stuff like you can tell it rotate 90 degrees to the left, move 40 pixels forward, and so on. And you can, this way you can draw different pictures, like you could draw a circle or a square, and it allows kids to learn these concepts of loops, conditions, and so on. Well, my second language was Pascal. And in high school, I participated in many programming contests, and my main language was Pascal. I was fairly good in competitive programming, not as good as other Russians, like I don't know if you heard about them, like Pyotr Mitryshev. I'm not sure. I think they're fairly well-known guys, but if you are not into competitive programming, you probably never hear of them. Anyway, and I coded in Pascal. I also wrote some applications in Delphi, but it was some basic applications. Then Delphi is like Pascal meets I don't know, form builder. So it's like well, Then I learned C++, C and C++. Then I learned Python. For the last, for sorry. I also used to work in Yandex. You probably, I'm not sure if you heard about Yandex, but it's a Russian search engine company. It's main competitor of Google, and it's like the most popular search engine in Russia. So Yandex also has search engine in Turkey, but I guess it isn't known widely in, for example, in the US.
We're very self-absorbed, so yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but it's mostly, it's good for Russian internet. It's pretty good. So I worked there. I no longer work there because I quit to work on my own things, on my own projects to stream. So it was fun working there, and that's where I got most of my search engine knowledge. So that's why I stream mainly search engine stuff.
Interesting.
What else? I mainly programmed in C++, but I also occasionally did Python stuff, and I learned Python there. I'm pretty sure that I'm not as good in Python as I'm good in C++. I consider myself very good in C++ and not as good in Python.
Well, you're really good in Python, so I want to see your C++.
Okay. So in Python, I tend, so in Python, when you create a class and you have methods, you have to name your first argument self. I think you don't have to name it self, but the first argument you have to explicitly name self in Python. So methods always have one argument, and you have to specify it explicitly. I don't remember if it's always have to be named self. I suspect that you may name it any other word would work. Anyway, I always forget to do this, like all the time, because in C++, this thing is implicit. You don't have to provide this argument explicitly. So I don't know. I'm more C++ guy.
I think that definitely it's easier to, because having started with like Java for me, and then having gone back and learned C++, I definitely see that it's so much easier to do like C and C++, and it's a lot easier afterwards to go to another language. Because you're like, oh my god, this stuff is so much, like they have stuff that just does that? Wow.
Yeah, sometimes I get this feeling in Python. Python feels kind of more high level than C++. Although if you C is very low level, I don't like C because, well, it doesn't have all these nice features that C++ have. I think that modern C++ is fairly high-level language, and so for example, C++ at 11 added a lot of nice things like lambdas, auto keyword, and it also added a lot of smart pointers and new smart pointers like std, shed, Basically, in C++, you never allocate memory using new keyword. I mean, sometimes you allocate it, but you directly pass the pointer to the smart pointer that handles all this memory stuff for you, like print memory in.
To me, you'd have to have some really weird restrictions that you had to fall within to ever use C by itself. You'd have to have some weird reason to need that over C++.
For example, like I'm pretty used to C++, so I would like to hear the perspective of a person who learned C++, or sort of after learning another language.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. to me, I actually think I would not. If you want to learn object-oriented programming, I wouldn't suggest anybody start with C++ after having whatever, because just it's. Well, I mean, you dealt with kind of other programming languages yourself, but I guess was that your first like common language that you learned though?
I also learned Pascal in Delphi.
Oh, that's right, you said that.
Yeah, so it's kind of, I don't know. I think that C++ has a lot of complicated technical details that you have to remember. It's definitely not a language for beginners because C++ was never designed to be easy to learn. It was designed to make life of professional programmers easier. So if you learn C++, you can do stuff relatively quickly. Compared, for example, to C. C is a very low-level language, and well, the main strength of C++ is to be good for professional programmers, but it's not very easy to learn.
Yeah, I know that it basically C++ for the most part is really just like, for instance, games and things like that, like where memory is very important, and working as close to the metal as possible becomes very critical. But as just a generic, I just need to make this application. Like, yeah, don't do it in C++. It's going to take you 4 times longer than if you were to just learn something like Python or Java.
Yeah, that's true. C++. Another thing that C++ is very optimized for is not wasting hardware resources. So there is very little overhead, and one of the principles of C++, you pay only for what you use. So if your language has lots of high-level stuff, so C++ has lots of features, but for example, if you aren't using, for example, virtual, like virtual functions, you aren't going to pay for this feature. And I feel like a lot of complexity kind of starts. A lot of complexity is because of this principle.
I agree.
By the way, I learned that self is just a convention. In Python, self is just a convention. And it could be called rocket or variable for this instance, etc. And so thank you, K86. So yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's a lot of things that are just convention that a lot of developers think is like part of the language as well.
Yeah.
But they do that though, so that if somebody else comes and reads your code or needs to take a look at your class, that they're not like, "What in the hell is this?"
Yeah.
C# and Java. Yes, C# and Java. If you want 2 languages that could lead to understanding of C++, I would agree with that. There's a lot of easier programming languages to learn, but those 2, if you wanted to take the route of going back to learning C++, like that it wouldn't be as big of a jump. Anything compiled, really. So Alex, what else do we got on here? We need. Oh, so you're currently in school, aren't you?
No.
You're not?
No, I actually dropped out of university because it sucked for me.
I dropped out too. Everybody's like, "Do you go to school for computer sciences?" Like, no, I actually decided to just go ahead and get paid.
I know, in Russia, they teach you a lot of outdated stuff, and I basically wanted to learn about programming, and there wasn't many they were teaching me a lot of programming stuff, and most of the stuff I learned myself while doing some work or talking to other developers. And university courses, in my opinion, isn't a very good way to learn programming. You should, if you want to start. So I can see that. So there is a question about first language. I think that you should probably start with Python because it lets you get stuff done very quickly, and there isn't, and it's very high level. So, and I see many beginners learning Python, and they look happy doing so. So if you want to start learning programming, you probably should start with learning Python, trying to write simple programs in it, and once you feel confident, you should probably start a smaller project like code a website or make a game. Don't try to make it very complex. For example, if you're just starting learning programming and you are reasonably proficient in Python, you could probably try creating a Tetris or re-implementing some other simple game. That's my opinion.
I agree. I always tell people decide what you're interested in first.
Yeah, I agree. So if you feel like you want to make a game, just make a game. If you want to build a website, you should probably start building a website. If you want to make desktop application, like come up with an idea for some desktop application and like code the desktop application. I don't think that there is a fixed way to learn programming, and yeah, you kind of should work on projects that excite you.
Yeah, because I'm thinking back, like, it was the reason Java was so hard, my very first language, the reason it was so hard to learn is because my professor insisted that we just make, like, business applications, which I didn't care about at all, because I knew that's not what I mean, I would never be able to do that for the rest of my life, make business applications. Like, that sounds awful to me. And so, yeah, it was really hard to stay focused, and like now, like when I learn something new, it's because I'm like, it's what I'm interested in. I go out and find the knowledge. Nobody even has to ask me to do that. I want to learn that stuff. Okay, so what's your, like, where do you plan? I know that you've been kind of all over the place with programming. Like, where do you see yourself going as a programmer? Like, what's your end goal?
In programming, I don't know. I get very good in C++. I started learning Python, so I plan to code in Python some web projects. Because like right now, I'm very interested in web programming because I like making web apps, and I don't know. I don't see the end goals, but for the next couple of years, I would like to do some web programming, probably learn HTML and CSS. I know the very basics, but I don't know. I'm not very good at it. I'm pretty much a noob. I kind of know how to make websites with Bootstrap, but it's all default Bootstrap, and I would like to learn more about front end. I also want to learn. I know basics of Haskell and Clojure, and so I would like to learn some. So I would like to make a project in Haskell or Clojure because I only know basics of functional programming, and I would like to see how it feels to code a complete project, like 1,000 of lines in Haskell or Clojure. So that's my plan. I don't know. Like I mentioned, I don't think there is an end goal. It's not like I don't think that one day you wake up and you are level 80 programmer. there is always a new stuff to learn, and I'm pretty sure that programming will be quite different in 10 years.
Yeah.
So
I definitely think that somebody who thinks they know it all has never seen anything. Because the more that you learn stuff, the more you realize you'll never learn it all. It's impossible.
Yeah. On the other side, the more you learn, the more easier it gets to learn new stuff. Because when you know one language, it's much easier to learn another one.
I agree. So what about professionally? Like, where do you want to go with that? Like, what kind of developer would you like to become?
So, I think that so as you know, I worked in Yandex, which is the Russian search engine, and I would like now. So I kind of want to learn new stuff now, and I have been working there for. I had been working there for like 4 years. Yeah, 4 years, and the most work I did was on search engines, on web search engine, on a certain part of it, of course, because like real search engines are very big and complicated. But I can, assure you that they're based on similar principles.
You got a lot of different areas you could go though if you did.
So now I want to go to web programming, like I mentioned, or maybe game development. I don't know yet. I also would like to maybe learn about Android smartphones, but I don't know. I don't know Java, and I never programmed. I think I wrote like some very, very basic Android application, like pretty much Hello World, but nothing more. So I don't know how difficult would it be to get into, to become an Android developer, for example.
Well, you're lucky that you can actually use C++.
Oh yeah,
Android development.
There is an NDK, but I think that NDK, Native Development Kit, is typically used by game development companies. So maybe I could get an Android developer.
You can do both. You can make a game for Android.
Yeah, so maybe I could do this. So I don't know. Probably either web programming. To summarize, it's probably going to be either web programming or game development or Android development. So that's where I am now.
I've found that for me personally. There's a lot of guys that make a living in a ton of different ways, but like when I finally took the leap, and because I started out in web, and then I was like, I want to be able to do the whole package, because there's a lot of clients that go, I need a website, I need a mobile application for both Android and iOS. Like I wanted to be able to sell and make all those things, and it made a huge difference like, because I started in web, it took me a long time to go to, like when I would make an Android application, it took me a long time to tackle it from the perspective of I have to get this back on, this has to go to the web at some point, and vice versa. Like if I made a website, I'd be like, I have to be able to interact with this through a mobile application. Because otherwise it's really hard to go back and be like, oh crap, I built that in such a way that's not even possible. Like I've made a website and been like, crap, I don't have any access to that database now. I'm going to have to... But anyway, if you start learning both kind of together, obviously you want to finish one before the other, but if you learn both, kind of learn a little bit about both at the same time, you'll be a lot better off.
Okay, thanks for the tip.
What about? I think how long have we been doing this now?
I think almost 2 hours. I think we should start discussing news.
Okay, so news recently, and you've had you've had. It sounds like you've done a little bit of game development, maybe not like the full blown thing, but you've played with it. It sounds like.
I Well, not much. I know some. I know a bit about game development. I built some simple games, but kind of very simple. Not nothing big. So yeah, I think I'm a bit familiar with OpenGL and stuff like that, but I wouldn't consider myself a game developer.
To me, it would seem, and this is kind of a precursor to the news, by the way, but to me, it seems like for those of us who are programmers, obviously you can't jump straight into games. Anybody that's tried has failed miserably because there's so much knowledge you need to do that, unless it's just like really, really simple stuff. But for most of us, like game development is the kind of the ultimate form of programming. Because you have to be really good at allocating resources. You have to have very robust, structured code. You have lots of classes, lots of methods. I mean, like it's like a combination of all the tough things that each one of us do every day, all rolled into one. Which is why there's always open game developer jobs at pretty much every studio, because it's not easy to just find somebody who's good at all those things. But recently, and that brings me up to this, for game developers, I think that this is going to mean several years from now, it's going to make a big difference. NVIDIA announced this last week at their conference that they are, first, their new Shield device, which if any of you didn't catch the news, basically they are going to be releasing a console-ish type device for your TV that outputs in 4K, which is huge because currently there's nothing out there that does that, unless it's like an what do you call it, an up-converted DVD player. But there is no native 4K device out there. And with it, and this was the bigger news, that's going to be like $200, but with it, they are going to be offering their Grid service, which started out in beta for their handheld tablet and device for this new Shield. So you'll be able to game in 4K on their new device, but with Grid services. And why I bring this up, because I don't want to, we're not a gaming show, even though most of us nerds probably play games quite a bit. Is the implications behind it. First off, that you are networking like basically a crap ton of supercomputers all together that are able to I don't even know how to explain this for somebody who hasn't used it. Okay, so basically their whole concept behind their Grid service is that they will pre-render all of your frames on their end. And the latency to your house is, I think they were judging it right around, what was it, 100 and something milliseconds? Half a blink of an eye it takes to send it there, render it, and send it back. I thought it was just crap, but they were playing games, and developers that hadn't even, like for instance, the Witcher 3, the developer didn't even know that he was, like, this whole thing was really going to happen. Until he boarded the plane, and when he got there, he was thinking, he was honest. He's like, the whole way here, I thought there's no way possible that you can stream from 800 miles away without a crap ton of latency. But the big implications behind this is how game developers are going to be able to use this in the future. Because I know NVIDIA is probably going to make this for AAA games, but there's going to be other services now that pop up because of this. The ability to not have to worry about the receiving end's hardware as a game developer, to me, has just huge implications. Because at that point, you don't even have to really, although you want your game to be as efficient as possible, knowing that you have a crap ton of supercomputers that are going to handle it for you, that makes resource management a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, I agree. It's sounds like a really cool idea. I hope it will work really well. I'm not sure about this latency, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, well, I saw it. They did it a bunch of different ways. Like, for instance, their controller for the device had like wireless instead of Bluetooth or whatever because because it removed like 4 milliseconds off of the response time. They like literally shortened it every single possible way, all the way there and all the way back. So I guess we'll see. But to me, if this works out, it's going to change. I mean, not even just for gaming, because you know that this has to be coming for normal developers that need a crap ton of resources but do not have the money to pay for a supercomputer themselves. To me, we'll be able to compute. Developers will be able to basically buy. They'll probably like Reddit. I assume Reddit's kind of like that. They have processing time that you get through Reddit Gold, isn't it?
Yeah, they sort of make this Reddit Gold. So when you are paying for the Reddit Gold, they make you feel like you are supporting Reddit. They kind of have this. If you pay for the Gold, you have this small notice on your profile, and for example, for me it says you have helped pay for 19 hours of Reddit server time.
But my bet is it's going to work like that, but for the development that you'll buy a certain amount of processing time, obviously not for their site, but for yourself. But it would make sense that we would be able to do a lot more complicated things without actually owning that computer. Like for them, their grid service started out, I think, 4 years ago for corporations that, if you have a big development team, why pay for 4 individual souped-up computers when you could just have a server that has that unlike a normal computer can allocate all the graphics processor, all the GPUs together, and basically can all work off the same supercomputer. But my guess is that this is going to make a lot of changes for future consoles, definitely. Because here's the thing: is I don't know if everybody knows this, and I don't want to get into a big thing about gaming, but it does make a big difference for game developers. But PlayStation and Xbox lose money on every console that they make when they're released. They lose money.
About this. It's surprising but I think they make up this with selling games, because you pretty much have to buy games. So
well, obviously they wouldn't do it. Period. If they were going to lose money in the long run.
Yeah.
But off of hardware. But if you're Microsoft or PlayStation going, you mean you can render graphics like a $4,000 computer and send it back and not have pretty much anything inside the little box at your TV. Like, that means we wouldn't have had to stick all these graphics cards in here that we lost money on. I think in the future it will make sense to, if this really works for NVIDIA, regardless of whether it gets popular, that a lot of companies will be following suit, because that means that they don't have to lose money on their hardware anymore. They simply just give whatever base hardware they need in order to send and receive the signal, and they can pretty much just keep, have their own set of computers that does all the processing for them, and they can do it because of all that money they're saving. They're able to render much better graphics because it's all done at their end. So to me, I don't know. This could change a whole lot of things. I think corporations is going to be the same. I know that for like Kevin, who is on the show with us the last couple weeks, he specifically does a lot of work with CUDA. And so for him, I know if he was here, he'd be like, yeah, the ability to jump on to like a connected, like basically a network of supercomputers and have access to 30 Titan Z's, that we could do it, people could do amazing things with that. So I have a feeling that this is going to spread into beyond gaming and into.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see. Yeah.
I think you're going to see some pretty good, cool services. Well, and I doubt it's all just through NVIDIA, but the fact that it's kind of like it's like any service. The minute somebody comes up with one good idea, 30 companies are like, that is a good idea. We should do it too. Okay, so that's enough about that. If you definitely, I hope to see some updated news about this in the future. Okay, so the other news is, or it's not really news. Kevin brought this up, which unfortunately he's unable to talk about it himself, but he found a Reddit article that says, are algorithms a proper way to test developers? What are your thoughts?
So you know, I participated in many competitive programming contests, and they're all about algorithms. So I think I'm not so I think I'm in advantage now because I know all these I know a lot of algorithms, and I know things like annotation. I can estimate like the complexity of the algorithms pretty easily. So if they want to judge by algorithms, I don't mind. Personally, I don't see it as it doesn't harm me. I don't think it's an objective measure of programming skill because typically algorithms are coded in a standard library. You never write quick sort in real life because you have libraries. In C++, you have std sort. In Python, you have sorted function. And I don't know, to me, it's kind of seems meaningless to, for example, to ask a person to write a quick sort. I don't know. On the other hand, sometimes they ask a lot of simpler stuff like could you reverse a list and how to do it efficiently. So it's a bit better. But I don't know. It's not like I reverse lists all the time. I mean, I do reverse them, but I used built-in functions and stuff like that. And I'm not sure that it's a good way to judge developers.
For me, I think it's because programming's not like that in real life.
Yeah.
Somebody doesn't stand behind you and say, write something that does this. Not all problems can be solved like that either. There's a lot of trial and error when it comes to development, even in a professional, because the first way you write something is definitely not going to be, it's not going to look like that by the time you're done. You'll probably rewrite the same method 8 times to get better efficiency out of it. To me, it's this equivalent of hiring a graphics artist, slapping down a piece of paper and saying, draw something. Like, no, you look at their portfolio, you look at their track record, because, and there's also not programmers out there that focus, well, a lot of programmers, I would imagine, that, because we're very, by nature, internal, in our processing, it's really, really hard when somebody's like, you gonna do it? You gonna do it? Like, no, get away, give me a minute. To me, it would not represent a real world situation at all to have somebody standing over your back being like, make an algorithm now. You probably would have been great at it if you wouldn't have done that in the first place.
I agree, yeah. I'm not sure if it's an objective measure. There is definitely some issues with interviews, in my opinion, because they don't look like the real life. So yeah, I agree with you.
So that brings me to my next question. You actually had a page that you had brought up earlier. Like, what do you think are good methods for judging on whether or not you should hire someone?
So yeah, I read an article today about Matasana, and Matasana is some security company in the US, uh, and they talk about issues with hiring process. For example, they tell so for example, one of the simpler ideas is you should probably so yeah, so there is a bunch of issues, and one of the simpler ideas is that telephone. So some companies use telephone interviews. Uh, so they use phone interviews, and it's kind of well, and they tell you should probably not use phone interviews to screen people. You can use them to talk about them and so tell them about company and warm up them, but they tell you that you should probably never use them. They tell you, and they also raise a bunch of issues. Another issue they talk about is that some people get really nervous, like very anxious, and if you select people based on interview, you have bias. You introduce a bias because you will more likely select a confident person than a non-confident one. They also talk about making a candidate to do some piece of real work. So, for example, and they built, and since they're a security company, they built some sort of web service with vulnerabilities. So they deliberately introduced vulnerabilities, and they designed a special protocol to interact with this web application. They tell candidates, hey, go find some vulnerabilities. And since it's kind of a special app with a special protocol, you have to write some code. There are no pre-existing tools, and so they look at this, at how you solve this problem. So it was a very interesting article. You should probably read it. I don't know. I wonder if it's possible to post it. I don't know. I'm going to post it for people in chat.
Yeah, I'll throw it. I'll throw it in the, here. Let me bookmark it real quick. I'll throw it in the description after we're done here of the video for YouTube.
I think it's a really good article, and it's not just some sort of rant. They actually talk about what works and what doesn't. So, for example, they also talk about things that they tried but didn't work. So, for example, they had some sort of puzzle, and they had a candidate to solve this puzzle while at home or something like that. And for some reason, it didn't work well for them. I don't remember the details. So they actually document their experience and talk about what works and what doesn't. That's a really good article.
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's the thing is, I'm not gonna lie. My first couple of experiences in programming, I got simply because I was a pretty decent talker, but I was 100% full of shit. So I know firsthand that that's not a good way to tell. But for the most part, developers on the whole are not known as the very charismatic bunch.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but the fact is that there is a direct correlation through, many studies have shown that the smarter you are, the less likely you are to be a charismatic, like outgoing social person. It's like, and that's been proven tons of times. So actually, it's the other way around. If anything, you should look for the quiet guy that doesn't want to talk. He's probably a fucking genius. But yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think a lot of the times, though, the biggest thing is that companies don't prioritize what's important to them before they begin interviewing and accepting job applications. Like the algorithms thing. Like, there's a lot of companies who have tried that or making you write code on the spot, but the fact is that that person's job doesn't rely on that. So it's not going to tell you whether he's good for the job no matter what. Now, if you need them to write just crap tons of code on the spot, it's very hectic environment, then yeah, maybe that's for you, but that more than likely that's probably not the case.
Yeah.
I think for me, more than anything, you can tell a lot just by their previous work. Not that you want them to break out a bunch of code or anything, but just, you know, what have you worked on? You know, having somebody with a background of similar experiences is probably worth its weight in gold more than anything you could ever ask them during an interview. Yeah. So, do you think that companies then are, like, when it comes to resumes, portfolios, interviews, do you think that they tend to place too much judgment in certain areas? Like, do you think that they go, oh, well, you only have this much experience, or oh, your portfolio is limited, or oh, you know, you didn't tell us everything we ever wanted to know about programming in the 5 minutes you were talking to us?
Well, personally, I think they put a lot of emphasis to the interviews, and I think it would be better if they kind of modify the interview process, because, well, because of all these issues that we discussed. I think I suspect that not every programmer has a portfolio. So, for example, I don't have a large portfolio. I have a few projects on GitHub, and I contributed to some open source projects, but I did it, I think, during the previous year. Even though I have 4 years of professional experience, I think there should be a way to kind of address this issue. I don't know, actually. So I think that the interview is just the default way of doing hiring. Like, if you imagine, like, if you know nothing about hiring, like, about all the processes, like, and you're trying to figure out what person you would like to hire, you will end up with interviews, because, like, it's the most natural thing to do, just to bring a person and talk to him, and I think there must be smarter way to do hiring. Like these Matasana guys, they invented a very good method of selecting candidates for their particular industry, for security.
To me, all the interviews and stuff are conducted by the wrong people. Like, generally, it's like some HR lady who knows nothing about code, period. And then B, like the project manager. And definitely, there's a couple reasons why a project manager wouldn't be any good at selecting it. And it's because A, like when I've project managed, I've been decent at a lot of the languages that we were working with, but I also know front end, back end, art, whatever. But I'm not amazing at any of them. I couldn't tell you if this guy's I could tell whether he knows the language, but I couldn't tell you if he's a good programmer. Mm-hmm. And B, if you've been a project manager, now I kind of go back and forth between product management and programming, but a project manager that's been there for a while, he probably hasn't actually sat down and programmed a crap ton in many years. Like he can still look at code and he can still go, oh, you know what, we should have done this, but he's not going to sit down and write it. He is not the guy who goes and looks at all the new APIs that are involved in the last update of Java or whatever it is. He doesn't know that. So he couldn't tell you if the guy's really caught up, knows his stuff, and can do it efficiently. To me, if anything, like having, like, honestly, part of your team should probably be there, and really, I've seen this a lot lately in Silicon Valley, is they will actually hire you for like 2-3 days, come in, and afterwards, they're, the team pretty much goes, yeah, we like him, let's keep him. Because as a project manager, that's really all you want anyway. Is even if the guy's not as great as I want him to be, if he gets along great with my freaking team, then that's important. The team will, if they like him and they want him there, they'll get him where he needs to be. No questions about it. So I don't know. That's my input. Man, where have you been, Phil? You've been all quiet today. Decided to go off camera.
Sorry, I had to take a phone call. Because my dad is sick at the moment, so he had to go take some tests, and so I got a phone call right now for that. So I had to step out for a bit. Sorry about that.
How's he doing? Doing all right?
I don't know yet, actually. I'm kind of keeping an ear open if the phone rings. So if I do go off camera again, it's because I had to attend to the phone. So sorry about that.
Understandable. Well, we're actually about done. Okay, so let's talk. I want to spend just a couple moments. If you are watching this, whether it's at the live, when we're doing it live, or later on, which a great majority of our viewers do, if you have a preference as to when our time is, this week we want to tie down when our podcast is going to be, and regardless of who's busy, who's not, we want to always have it at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you guys have some preferences and we receive like an overwhelming number of a time frame that people would like us to have it so they can tune in live, then we will definitely take that into consideration. Now, if that preference is ridiculous, we're going to ignore you. But I'm just playing. But for the most part, we really want to make this. We want to get as much interaction as possible with people, and definitely have them be a part of what we're doing. As much as we want people to be involved with, Watch People Code, this, as a site or a subreddit. So any way that we can encourage that, we definitely want to. So if you want to throw into the comments or message Alex, message me, message Phil. We definitely want to hear from you. If you have a question, we would love to hear from you as well, and we will include that in the next week's thing. If you see something cool during the week, you read an article, send it our way. We'll be more than happy to take a look at it and talk about it. Other than that, definitely try to jump in there with us and hear some cool talks on the 15th. If you'd like to be a part of that, you can message Alex or make a comment into his sticky, which you will find shortly on Watch People Code. I think
join us on IRC as well. We're on the freenote.net. Please go ahead and check that out. We are on the hashtag WatchPeopleCode. Most of the streamers, or not most of them, but a lot of the streamers that you see on Twitch and YouTube do hang out there a lot. Even if they're not streaming, most of the time they're there. If they're not at the keyboard, then they're still logged in, so you can leave them a message. A lot of the subreddit moderators are on IRC, so if you guys have any questions, suggestions, anything you guys want to bring up, some sort of events, maybe you want to know timings or something, that's probably one of the easiest ways to reach most of us on the IRC. So make sure to go ahead and just stop by and chat with us there.
I think the last thing, I'm trying to look to make sure if I don't have anything else. I don't think we have anything else. Last thing is that we will be on iTunes this next week, or like I promised Alex, promised on behalf of Alex last week. If we're not on iTunes, Alex is gonna do streaming all next week without a shirt on. So that's gonna happen. Just playing. But yes, is Alex frozen? He looks frozen.
Hey.
Oh, there you
he's
go.
there.
You were literally stuck
Okay.
like.
Can you? So I don't know. Maybe I should restart it or something.
Yeah.
But
No, you're good. You're moving. You're moving.
Yeah,
okay,
you're
great.
good now. You were stuck on my end for a second, but yeah, Alex and I are gonna work together this week. We're gonna get on iTunes.
Yeah.
All I think that's really left is we just have to edit in the actual episodes information, and we're good to go. So
Yeah, I think there is. I prepared the RSS feed for the first episode. We need to add the second one here, and then we can test it on iTunes, and it's all
So-
good. So yeah, we are going to finish this next week.
awesome. Oh, and last thing, if you want to be on the podcast, let us know, and definitely not only just to new guys, but definitely to our streamers as well. We love hearing about your projects and hearing about your experiences, the questions that your viewers ask you. So yeah, if you want to participate in this and be on it, feel free to let me know. We'd love to have you.
Speaking of that, Nate, Triggerman wants to be our guest for the next week. He actually sounded quite excited about that. We just need to let him know the timing of the next podcast.
We are. Oh, that was the whole point to me talking in the first place. I just never got to it. I'm thinking probably 7 or 8 Central.
Okay.
Is probably going to be it because it's not so late that like the 12 o'clock thing kills Kevin, and I think that it'll be between. We'll decide for sure, but for now let's talk about 8. Once we do decide, you can plan on it being that time forever. Pretty much, unless like the President of the United States is going to be on, and then we might modify the time for him. But unless it's something like that, if Bill Gates decides he wants to be on, we'll consider it. But after that, the big thing is that we definitely want you guys to be able to plan on us being online at a certain time every single weekend. So other than that, I appreciate you guys that tuned in with us. For you guys that weren't here with us live, thank you for having a listen. Whenever it is that you did, and we will catch you guys next time. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.